Okay, so I'm assuming everyone can see the first slide there. So I imagine the meeting tonight would probably take about half an hour to get through the content, maybe even shorter, and hopefully we have a bit of a discussion towards the end if anyone has any questions or just wants to talk about, yeah, where to from here. So this is the second meeting in a series of meeting about how the working groups are running. Our first meeting was an introduction meeting. That was last week. And yeah, this is the first awareness working group meeting, and we're hoping that these meetings will start a regular meeting process for people in these working groups to come together. So the awareness working group meeting is, the first one, basically because we're the first working group that's actually got members in it and are doing work and coordinating. So an agenda for tonight. So we're going to run past the context of the working groups, where this fits into Flux's overall structure, the story so far, and then we're going to go through the purpose of the awareness working group, as well as the different roles and accountabilities in that working group, the next steps from here that we can see, and then a bit of time for questions at the end. So, welcome to people who are just joining. Just a note on confidentiality. This will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to remain confidential, I advise you to not screen share. If that's not a problem for you, don't worry about it. The working groups, and I'm just aware that we've got Nathan on the line as well, and Nathan is our founding member. I'm not sure what the formal title is, but if you want to jump in at any point, Nathan, please be my guest. So the working groups that we've identified so far, and just in case you weren't here at the last meeting, the working groups are our main model of delivering work in Flux. So we've got Flux, which is aiming to implement issues-based direct democracy into the Australian context. And that's a long road. And we kind of, we've got a bit of a map at how to get there. And the working groups are basically the organs of Flux. These are the way we have of getting work done, of growing the organization, and of growing issues-based direct democracy. So we've identified 4 main working groups at this stage. The awareness working group, that's going to be all things communications. The engagement working group, all things culture, all things membership, our internal sort of culture and structure. The finance working group, money, and the implementation working group, which is actually doing what we say we're going to do. And there's a lot of work that is going to be going on there, not just administration, but education. What is IBDD and how do we communicate that? The sort of philosophical basis and the sort of deeper questions around why this is a good thing. Technology, it'd be nice to be building an app. I know that there is being work done in that area, and there's a lot more that needs to be done. And then we also have the campaigns, which is coming up here in Victoria, and we've got a national campaign coming up either later this year or early next year. So those are good rallying points and a great way to energize the organization. So that's a broad overview of the working groups that we have identified so far. And as I mentioned, the awareness working group is the only one that's had its first meeting and has started doing work as a working group currently. There is work being done in all of these areas, but not under the working group model. Are there any questions about any of that so far? Pretty clear? Great. So the purpose of the working group is enhancing public awareness of issues-based direct democracy and Flux. And we see this happening in 3 ways, 3 prongs of raising awareness. Social media is a huge way to engage and a very strong platform of engagement so far. Content generation, actually generating content, generating videos, memes, presentations, that sort of thing, posters even, and then marketing. Which is a bit more strategic, and we'll get into the split between those roles. It's very possible that someone in this working group is doing all three roles between different times. And I found it helpful to think about these three different ways of doing, of raising awareness, so we can be clear about how we're spending our energy. Now, so we're going to go into each of those roles in a little bit more detail. So social media, there's some accountabilities that go along with each of these roles. And accountabilities are things that happen on an ongoing basis. We don't like to say exactly what needs to happen because we leave that up to the working groups to identify how best to grow the organization. But we can say that what needs to happen regularly is maintaining consistent engaged presence across the different platforms and social media, across our different platforms of engagement, so that we're, talking to people, that we're, answering people's questions, and also that we're engaging with different communities. So actually having a bit of an outreach role where we're, there's a lot of localized Facebook groups where it might be, Mums of the North Shore, where people are talking about, local issues and local. It's a way for people to address things within their community, and that's a great platform for us to reach out to and say, well, you'd like to have more of a say. Here's this model where you can, and to really level with people on the issues that they care about and say, well, we have a platform for your issues. So it's, maintaining what is there, and also outreach, getting our message out there into different communities that form around social media platforms. And when campaigns are around, to coordinate with the campaign strategy so that the messaging is consistent and also targeted. So really working closely with the campaigns team during campaign time to really push the message into where it needs to be heard. So those are the three main accountabilities that we see for social media so far. Something important to note is that this is just what we think needs to happen, and it's very likely that these will change in the future as more possibilities are sensed by people in the working group, and as we grow, the things that we'll be doing will be different. So next one is content creation, and this is a really important one. So basically creating content, working with the education team to find out what is the best way of communicating the message that we have. There's a lot of different facets to issues-based direct democracy, and it's going to appeal to different people in different ways. Working to identify what it is that is really the value here, and condensing what can be really technical jargon. One of the things that we're working on now is, someone asks, "Oh, what's IBDD?" And it might be a half hour presentation to actually explain that. Being able to chunk that information down into something that's digestible and impactful, so that people get it quickly. Because while we get it and we love it, most people will need to be convinced in about 30 seconds rather than 30 minutes. So creating content that's compelling, that's impactful, that we can have fun with, that we can throw around on social media, and also perhaps poster, will be the name of the game there. It's probably enough on that. And then the third part, PR and marketing. So this is a bit more of a strategic angle, but planning and executing compelling marketing and media campaigns. And this is again about engaging with the value of Flux, the value of IBDD, what this value is for different communities, how to communicate that value to different sections of the population. we have a campaign that is very compelling to a certain part of the population now. That's why we're here. And how do we communicate that to people who have very different mindsets and from very different walks of life? And the other one is on the PR level, securing resources and opportunities to get Flux's message out there. And that could look like speaking gigs. You know, there's no real reason why we shouldn't be on Q&A at this stage in the game. Pursuing those kind of really public-facing opportunities, you know, with people who are prepared to be that public face, and yeah, getting ourselves out there on national platforms will be that angle. So, is there any questions about any of those roles so far? We can maybe if there's any at the end, we can save them there. So that's basically it as far as we can see. From here, it's just a matter of getting together and doing some of that work, finding a role that you'd like to pursue. The working group is in the process of forming. They've had a couple of meetings and have identified some priorities, and are at a stage where they need people and to support each other and to identify what the priorities are that we want to address. So you can find the working group on Slack. And what's not on here is that we're probably going to be in the process of finding someone who can take a bit more of a leading role in the working group. In the model with Holacracy, they're called lead links, someone who can keep the working group accountable to itself and just to touch base with people, to make sure that what people say they're going to do gets done, and if not, that, you know, other solutions are worked. Someone who can be that anchor, play that anchor support role for people, and also let the other groups know what's happening. So we are looking for someone who can step up to that role and coordinate the different people who want to come in and out of the group and contribute to Flux. So that's basically it so far in terms of the bare bones of the thing. And I'm curious to hear from people who maybe have done some work with the group, who want to know more about the group, any questions that you might have about the Awareness Working Group.
I guess I'll go first. Reece, it's Warwick here from Melbourne, Victoria. I got involved and took an interest in Flux probably the very day after the last federal election, and I did my research after election day, silly me, and I thought to myself, I'm a young man with a growing family, and I need to be informed as to how things are going politically. And when I went home and researched Flux, it appealed to me, and everything about it, the ecosystem that it will try and create, was very appealing. So I got myself involved at the Victorian, in the Victorian group, almost 12 months to the day, I think it was. And I take a bit of an interest in things like Twitter and Facebook, so I've sort of taken sort of mini active role in promoting Victorian, or promoting Flux in Victoria in that regard. So I've really enjoyed doing that role, and probably our Twitter account in Victoria has been cranking left, right, and centre through that. So we've got quite a lot of engagement with people through that, through Facebook. So yeah, it's looking up. It's just a matter of turning that initial engagement through social media into active people who want to jump on board and take active roles, and even come to in-person meetups that we have in the city quite often. Over the last probably 6 months, we've been trying to actively do a once-a-month meetup here in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. The first few we've had a good turnout, whereas the last two have been pretty poor. So we're hoping that over time as we gain momentum through the upcoming Victorian election, which we believe should be in November or will be in November. So yeah, the whips are about to get cracking for us Victorians. So we're hoping things like this, the working groups will get people involved. So if they've got particular skill sets out there, and they are thoroughly keen on the Flux concept and everything that it entails, then they'll hopefully jump on board and jump on the group and really get the whips cracking with everyone, because I think that's the key, is many hands make light work, and the team aspect of the holacracy movement and the things that we're trying to implement here is, I think, really beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is that face-to-face contact that really keeps people engaged, as much as we love the idea, and to an extent enjoy sitting on a computer doing work. It really is that sense of doing work together that keeps the ball rolling. And I'll just ask anyone on the call who isn't talking just to mute themselves, because we're getting a bit of crackle through the line. So just mute yourself unless you are asking a question. Thank you. Yeah, what you are speaking to is also a bit of an area of the engagement working group. That's a working group that I'm quite excited about starting and joining, and really getting membership going, get directing people into the right working groups, running events for the membership. So awareness has an important, way of supporting engagement. And yeah, in terms of getting as long as the awareness is getting the message out there, and also creating a possibility for people to chuck us a vote come election time. That's really where awareness can come into its own, getting our message out there, pushing IBDD into the mainstream consciousness, and getting people to give us a vote come the election time. It would be great to get people elected, as we all know. Was there anyone else with any questions or comments about working groups?
You guys.
Hello, yes.
Sorry.
It's a little crackly. We'll try again. Sorry, Deb, but not getting anything coming through. Maybe you could try the chat.
Technology and internet, isn't it a wonderful thing?
Yeah, what would we do without it? Just crackle and not be able to talk to each other.
Reese, this is Joanne. Sorry, Deb's just put her question up. I'll come back after that.
Yep, fantastic. So just looking at the question on the chat, in rural Queensland, email and Google Hangouts have been our cornerstone. There you go. So I guess you're saying that the face-to-face element hasn't really been there. But we can streamline the social media. I don't check the other Facebook or Twitter pages. Yeah.
That's probably the beauty of Australia, really. Everyone is so remote to each other. It's very rare that you actually get Flux people who are so close together. So, we're sort of finding something similar down here in Melbourne, Victoria, where a lot of the group of us on the steerco for Victoria, pretty much each and every one of us are based in a completely region of Victoria. So finding opportunities and time and a place to actually meet in person is often quite difficult. So hence why we often try and do it as centrally as possible in the CBD so that we can all travel to the one spot. But often it can be a struggle. Yeah, I certainly do feel for people, even the bigger states out there, like in New South Wales, Queensland, WA, because really Flux itself doesn't just appeal to city people, it appeals to everyone around Australia, whether you are regional, are CBD orientated, this, that, and the other. Flux is for everyone, not just city-based people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even us in Victoria, we've utilised the Google Hangouts feature quite a lot for our meetings too. Obviously, Max and Nathan and whatnot have utilised Meet, and here we are on Zoom tonight. So there is some platforms out there that can be utilised for people that want to engage with themselves. Find the time for crackle.
Yeah.
Guys, I might just dive in quickly while we're talking about tools. This is Nathan here. Is that Zoom is really great in that if you don't have the greatest internet connection, you can dial in from your phone. And Deb, I'm not sure. I suspect you're probably using your internet or a computer or to avoid to connect. But you can actually use a phone number and call from even a landline and connect in with the call. So if sometimes connection isn't great or what have you, then then Zoom works also for phone lines.
Mm. Yeah. And was there another?
Joanne, I think, wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Reese, if you could go back 2 screens in your presentation. Maybe it's 1 screen back. Sorry, could you go 1 screen forward? The thing I'm thinking, and I don't quite get a sense of where this fits within Flux, is the PR and marketing components of campaigns itself. So when there's an election, state, federal, local, whatever, the role that the awareness working group would be playing in that, as opposed to, say, the state working group or the federal working group or whatever it is. Because I noticed it wasn't on any of your points, and I was just thinking, is that because the awareness group stays away from specific election campaigns where I think the most interest probably is, or is it because and delegates those roles to those other working groups, or is there actually some way that those are connected?
No, thanks for raising that, Judy. And you're absolutely right. They are very much connected.
It's Joanne, I think, Reece, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Thanks. That's more an oversight on my part. I did mention for the social media that there's coordination for elections, and it'll be very much the case for any other of the roles there as well. When election time is on, everyone's on.
Yeah, I thought that would be the case, but then I just thought maybe the awareness group, working group stayed away from the election part of the awareness.
No, I don't get that sense. I think there'll be a regional focus. So when there's elections on in Queensland, people from Victoria, South Australia, WA might participate less, but they don't necessarily have to, because they can still participate online. It depends on how the working group orients itself and how they decide to use their energy. But campaigns are something that everyone would want to pull behind. So where to go from here? We'll probably be sending out we'll probably be advertising for someone to be the lead link for the awareness working group in the next few weeks. Someone who can, hold meetings, keep a track of meetings, and then come to the National Steerco to represent the working group as we continue to build these working capacities. If you know of anyone, including yourself, please make yourself known. The regular meetings, once we get that person who will be holding the regular meetings, then they'll be up and running, and hopefully a coordination point for the lots of people that are doing a lot of work out there who can link in to the other groups that are working and getting a bit more of a sense of how everyone's tracking and what everyone's focusing on.
Reece, this is Joanne again. Sorry. I have been spending a bit of time today on the working group awareness pages, and also the other pages just generally on Slack. And I noticed down the side, all of the members that you've got, there's a couple of people there who actually have mentioned that they're specialists in the marketing areas. So I was thinking you might want to go down that list, because they're obviously already on Slack for Flux, so they're into it. and then they've written under their qualifications that they're into, you know, media, marketing, promotion, that sort of stuff, I'd be headhunting them if I were you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those people, do contribute. So, headhunting is a good way to go. Will you come and do work for us, please? Are there any thoughts on, how to support this process of the working groups getting up and running?
Yeah, I mean, I might just dive in there, Reese. I mean, thanks for everyone who joined the call. As Reese said before, there are a few people already in this group looking to make things happen, and really it's just going to come down to us kind of turning the gears to get things moving, and once hopefully that process is moving and everyone's working together well, we've really got a strong group of people who are really helping us drive this side of the organization. As Reese has mentioned, this is a really, really important part of the organization because it's one of the ways that we grow it. So, for the three of you, I guess, who have joined the call, Warwick, Deb, and Joanne, and Deb and Warwick, I know you guys are already fairly involved at state levels. But if you're interested in joining the team at a federal level and kind of looking at how we manage kind of awareness and communications at a federal level, we'd really love to have you and connect you in with those guys. So please feel free to ask any questions if you have tonight. Otherwise, let us know afterwards, and we can get the ball rolling.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. It's appreciated. I'm actually really looking forward to sort of getting a little bit involved. I wouldn't say I'm going to jump in the deep end, but because I'm a busy man this year, I've got another kid on the way. But so
congratulations.
Yeah, cheers. So it's been a pretty busy last 6 months just for us here in Victoria, actually, and it's only going to get busier. As you might be aware, Nathan, we've got an interesting, probably next few weeks ahead of us here in Victoria with VICA and the VEC. So anyone who is listening and or watching on the YouTube content for Flux today, tonight, tomorrow, next week, whenever you're watching in, if you're a Victorian, you need to jump on the bandwagon and like, share, comment on all of our content, and just have a conversation. If you're a Flux enthusiast, if you love the concept, believe in it thoroughly, this, that, and the other, and you are comfortable discussing Flux with friends, family, work colleagues, whatever it may be, these are the conversations we as a group need to keep having to get the Flux concept out there, so that when the election rolls around, for whether it be the Victorian election in November or the federal election early next year, 2019, it's pretty critical right now that we get sort of the steering wheel just sharply focused in one direction, everyone on board, and just bang, let's do this. And we can hopefully get an MP elected, whether it be in state or federal level.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, if there's no other questions, I might wrap the meeting up there. And thank you all for coming to this working group meeting. And I'm looking forward to the next 6 months. What is it? How many months till November? 4 months? It's going to get really busy. And I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks very much for a great meeting, Reese, and for taking us through that. And everyone, thanks so much for joining. So obviously you all know where to find us. I think everyone's email here is attached to their Slack. So if anyone needs to get in contact with Reese or I, you can do that. And just to add to what Reese has said, looking forward to working with you guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Reese,